In the year 1347, 12 trading ships arrived in Sicily. The people on the docks were excited. They expected gold, silk, and spices. They didn't know that inside those ships was a hitchhiker that would change the world forever. It was a bacterium called Yersinia pestis. Carried by fleas on rats, it created a disease we now call the Black Death. Within just 5 years, it killed nearly half the people in Europe. That is 50 million people. Families were torn apart, entire towns simply disappeared. It remains the deadliest pandemic in human history. But what if those ships never arrived? What if the plague never happened? Usually, stopping a disaster is a good thing. But if you delete the Black Death, the modern world might not exist. We might still be stuck in the Middle Ages. To understand why, we have to look at life before the plague. It was a system called feudalism. It was a pyramid. At the top were the kings and landlords who owned all the land. At the bottom were millions of peasants. They didn't own anything. They worked for the landlords just to get a little bit of food and a place to sleep. Before the plague, there were too many people in Europe because workers were everywhere and they were cheap. If a worker died or complained, the landlord could easily find someone else to take their place for almost no pay. In a world without the plague, this stays the same. The population keeps growing, the workers stay poor, and the landlords stay in total control. There's no reason to change the rules. Now, look at what actually happened after the plague. Suddenly, half the workers were gone. The landlords were desperate. Their crops were rotting in the fields because there was no one to pick them. For the first time, the workers had power. A peasant could tell a lord, I won't work for you unless you pay me more. Many left the farms to find better jobs in the cities. This was the birth of the middle class. People started to earn money and buy their own land. The old system of kings and servants began to break. Without the plague, that power shift never happens. Your freedom to choose your job might have been delayed by hundreds of years. The plague didn't just change money, it changed how people thought. Before the plague, people followed the church and the government without asking questions. But when the plague killed so many, and the leaders couldn't stop it, people started to doubt the old ways. They started to ask, how does the world actually work? This helped lead to the Renaissance, a time of amazing art and new science. In a world without the plague, that spark might never happen. If life stays stable, people don't look for new answers. Science might have stayed hidden, and the great inventions we use today might have never been made. Here is the biggest surprise. We have machines today because a long time ago, human labor became too expensive. Because workers were rare after the plague, people had to invent tools to do their work faster. This eventually led to the Industrial Revolution, the birth of engines and factories. If the plague never happened, labor would have stayed cheap. If you have 1,000 people willing to work for a piece of bread, you don't need to invent a steam engine or a tractor. Without the plague, we might still be using wooden tools and hand plows today. It is a difficult truth. The Black Death was a horror that caused a massive amount of suffering. Yet, it was the fire that cleared the path for the modern world. It broke the old system so that new ones could grow. We don't want disasters, but history shows us that crisis often forces us to move forward. Without the dark days of the plague, our world today might be much slower, poorer, and less free place.